Greetings and welcome back to the Portraits in Fitness channel. My name is David. I'm a personal and corporate branding photographer specializing in headshots and portraits based in the San Francisco Bay Area, East Bay. However, I'm not there right now. I'm somewhere else in an undisclosed location, kind of on a working holiday of sorts, having more fun than I should be and just having a great time where I am right now. And I'm going to intersperse more B-roll in this video than I've done to this point. So I have a few things to update on my health and my carnivore practice. As of last week, I left you hanging on a kind of a bad note, having experienced a really awful day on Monday where I mentioned that, the thought of death taking me from my pain was appealing at moments. But I've made a lot of progress over the last week, and the health, really, I don't even want to dwell on that too much, but just a few highlights. So let's start with my skin condition, my rosacea, pretty much just calmed down. It's not flared, it's healing. And being here where I've been the last few days, I've actually pursued direct sun exposure a little bit. I got a little, I wouldn't say burned. They say once you cut out seed oils, you don't burn anymore. I definitely got pretty red, but the next day I was not red anymore. So that was really quick. I went out for a couple hikes and walks out in the sun without a hat and just felt great. And I think that helps. The sun heals just like meat heals. So the rosacea, I'm looking forward to just saying goodbye to that completely. So things are good in that direction. The last time I got on the scale was back where I live. I don't have a scale here. It's been a few days and I'm fairly confident I'm a little lower, but I'm not a slave to the scale. However, the weight continues to drop, not at the point where I feel like I'm ready to announce that I look good naked. And not going to reveal any of those before and after photos because the after photos are not ready just quite yet. But I do feel really good picking out clothing that I wasn't able to wear even a few weeks ago or a month or two ago. And it's just really exciting. And that's I'm on a really nice trend of losing weight. So that's something I'm very pleased about. Appetite is really interesting, continues to be intriguing to me, and it's really based so far on two things. The first is if I eat reasonably satisfying or higher proportion of food in the evening, then generally the next day I'm not hungry until at least the afternoon, and sometimes not at all. However, I had the ongoing back issues, and so the other day I decided, okay, I'm gonna fast through the day so that I'm front-loading my food intake. So that was recalibrated so that yesterday I ate in the morning, and then I was active all day doing lawn care. And so I ended up eating again afterwards. So the second part of that equation, whether I feel hungry or not, it really is determined by activity level. And so I'm finding, like, if I go to the gym in the morning, I'm definitely hungrier. And I'll usually have 2 meals a day, or one light, kind of a snacky, tide me over, and then a full meal. And if I'm not active, then I'm OMAD, 1 meal a day, and sometimes I'll even go 36 hours without eating. So just to follow up on what I mentioned about eating yesterday earlier in the day, and then I actually had a reasonably full meal in the evening as well. And for some reason, I think that allowed me to digest throughout the day. And I'd been dealing with that kind of a gut blockage of some sort and really fasting a lot. So I fasted about 3 days since the last update, and it really cleared things out. I feel like I'm pretty much over the hump. And this morning, finally was able to wake up, no alarm, 6:30 in the morning, just raring to go and got straight out of bed. Did a little tiny bit of stretching. There was a little bit of a pinch there, but I feel like I'm almost in the clear. So whatever it was, oxalate dumping, pancreatic issues, kidney, I don't really know. But like I said, I'm confident it was a healing trauma, nothing acute. And well, the pain was acute, but I believe that I'm over that hump and the worst is gone. It's in fact very mild, if at all. It's barely present now. And I've been really active since I've been here in my undisclosed location. So tied into the appetite, just really no cravings, no issues. I've been continuing with coffee because it keeps things moving, if you know what I mean. And that's been important to me. I just really enjoy my morning coffee. That's not going to stop in the short term. So as I mentioned before, I'll revisit that at 90 days. We'll see where I am with coffee. So while I've been at this undisclosed location on this working holiday of sorts, I've had a couple different experiences as a carnivore. And one of them was just after arriving here, I had to stock the fridge and basically prepare myself for 5 days of eating away from home. So that was an interesting experience. And it was actually fairly easy. And given that I ended up eating one meal a day or at max two, and I also ate out at a restaurant for the first time since going carnivore, I didn't need the entire volume of food that I had purchased, but I was fairly conservative in my purchases and basically just found some really good lamb sirloins that I've never found where I lived back in the Bay Area before. I found those here at a really good price, under $5 a pound, and it wasn't gamey and it actually tasted really good. So I had two of those. And I did have a little steak on my first night to celebrate being here. And I worked my way through almost 2 dozen eggs. I think I would give myself an A minus on that. So speaking of eating on the road and being at a restaurant for the first time, I met a friend for lunch. And originally I thought maybe I'd just order 2 beef patties and perhaps some bacon. But then I started thinking, well, the bacon ain't going to be sugar-free, because nobody stocks sugar-free bacon or paleo bacon. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll check the omelet section of the menu and maybe custom order from there. And sure enough, I found an omelet item that actually featured ground beef and cheese. And I just said, please hold the vegetables that normally come with that. The cheese was nice and melty. And although I'm not stocking my refrigerator at home with cottage cheese, the waitress offered that as a side because I didn't say yes to the usual sides like hash browns, that sort of thing. So it went really well. I am still consuming dairy in some forms and enjoyed the cottage cheese, enjoyed the melted cheese. And I don't see too many reasons to cease the consumption of cheese, except that it is pasteurized and it's not super nutritious. There are better forms of nutrition for me on carnivore, but it's an okay cheat for me. I'm allowing myself and I define what is making me happy and what I want to consume and what I don't want to consume. And right now I'm okay with eating some dairy. And just one more thought about, defining who we are and accepting labels and being so quick to label others. In my experience, I found that labeling other people is a form of intellectual laziness. And it goes straight past the cognitive thinking part of us to the emotional part. So when somebody is labeled, let's say, a denier, like, global warming denier, it's been so propped up to be this evil thing in the media and education and the ether we're swimming in, that immediately it appeals to the emotions of the listener and gives them license to just say, oh, yeah, that person's bad. They're a denier, science denier, right? We heard that. And wow, now I just don't respond to that. I'm just like, yeah, call me a denier. That just means I can think these days. So don't be afraid to go beyond labels. Don't use them if you don't have to. I think describing your diet when people are genuinely interested in listening to how you're approaching your diet, and especially how you got to the results you're getting at, could be really helpful. And if you have to label it carnivore, then fine. It's an animal-based diet, whatever works for you. It takes more effort, but it's worth it if somebody is genuinely interested in listening. And I think it helps keep those of us who are really focused on being more autonomous on our sovereignty, on our food sovereignty, on our bodily sovereignty, and our autonomy as people. So that concludes today's update. As always, appreciate you watching and always look forward to your wonderful comments, and I try to respond to each one as best as I can. So until the next video, as always, be good to yourself.